Last Jedi. So I saw it when it premiered, the night of the premiere. I wanted to wait because I didn't want to be that person to spoil anything. So without further ado, spoilers ahead for The Last Jedi. Okay, so you either loved it or you hated it, or you were somewhere in between, like myself. I am somewhere in between loving it and hating it. Well, I don't hate it. I just don't love it 100%. Yeah, we'll go with that. So let's see. Rian Johnson directed, Ryan R-I-A-N Johnson. I hope to not mutilate that name. Either way, he directed The Last Jedi. J.J. Abrams did Force Awakens. So the problems with Last Jedi are because of the way that J.J. Abrams told Force Awakens. So the key points that are a major problem in The Last Jedi that I find is Kylo Ren's motivation for why he does what he does with the First Order, Rey's parentage, and Supreme Leader Snoke. Biggest plot points that I had the biggest contention with. So let's go with Snoke because that's the obvious one. He's introduced in Force Awakens as being this big badass Sith Lord that literally comes out of nowhere. We have no idea his backstory, don't know who he is, where he came from, or even why specifically he's targeting Kylo Ren. And a lot of people went through the last 2 years, just throwing out theory after theory after theory. And then we get to The Last Jedi and Snoke finally comes in. We see him completely, without the hologram effect. He's in the throne room. He's got his own Praetorian Scarlet Guard, and that's all cool and everything. And he calls out Kylo Ren on his whackness. He calls out General Hux on his whackness. I was just like, damn, Snoke is like that dude. And then all of a sudden, that's it. Kylo Ren just instantly kills him. And I was like, what? Hubris. Hubris is what takes out Snoke. Snoke is so busy gloating and enjoying the fact that he is ragdolling Rey all across this throne room that he never notices that Ren is suppressing his Force ability so that he can turn the lightsaber to turn it on him and literally sever him in half. And while this is a badass move, and it shows that Kylo is extremely powerful, that he can suppress his Force usage to the point where, somebody as strong as Snoke doesn't notice it, says a lot about Kylo Ren's ability, which is great. But it's still a letdown because we don't get an explanation of who he is, where he came from, or why he targeted Kylo Ren or anything like that. So that's very anticlimactic. Then you've got Rey. Rey's parentage was a big talking point at the end of Force Awakens. We're like, who is this girl? Everyone was like, oh, she's Luke's long lost daughter, or maybe she's Han and Leia's daughter that they hid or something. Everybody thought she was related to the Skywalkers because how else could she have all this Force ability and she just can use it so simply? And we literally get another anticlimactic answer, which is Rey's parents don't matter. Literally, they're not Force users. They're not important. We never know their names. We don't know what they look like. And literally, Kylo Ren is just like, I know who your parents are. They're a bunch of drunk gamblers on Jakku who literally sold you for a drink. They're not important, and neither are you, except to me. And while that might be a believable thing to just say, here's somebody who's not related to the Skywalkers, who just happens to be truly adept at the Force, it's still a bit of a letdown because we're made to believe that Rey's parentage is incredibly important because the character believes it's incredibly important, and it's not. Kylo Ren, for me, was a big point in that in Force Awakens, he comes off as being someone who isn't fully committed to the First Order and what they're trying to do. He more so comes off as somebody trying to live up to this imaginary status of Darth Vader, his grandfather. but you never kind of get the idea why he wants to be him so bad. So, this big question is at the end of Force Awakens, which is okay because you knew it was going to be a film to try and answer this. And the most we get out of The Last Jedi in response to Kylo Ren's motivations is the partial motivation of him feeling betrayed by the Jedi, specifically by Luke. Luke being his uncle and his master, it's a deep betrayal for Kylo Ren. So, big spoiler on this point. Luke attempts to potentially kill Kylo Ren the night of the temple. So this is all prior to Ren fully joining the First Order. This is what happens when Luke loses his school. We see this flashback several times in The Last Jedi, which is good because it's useful and it's a plot point. It's a major plot point. But we see the perspective that Ren has, which is he sees Luke standing over him with the lightsaber on and he thinks Luke is trying to kill him. So of course he's absolutely terrified of his uncle's power, but he's fully betrayed, so he's angry, and rightly so. But then we also get the other side of the perspective. We get Luke's perspective, which is, he did think about it because he knew at that point Snoke had already, kind of gotten a hold of him and he wasn't sure what to do. But this is still his nephew and, at the same time, this is his student, his prize student. He really didn't want to do that, but it was too late. By the time he changes his mind, Ren has already woken up and sees him, and Luke sees a scared little boy looking at his uncle and looking absolutely betrayed. So really this comes down to a miscommunication, and here we are. But that's not enough of an answer, and it's certainly not satisfactory enough as to why Kylo Ren literally goes from the understanding point of feeling betrayed, he's angry and afraid of Luke, to I'm going to join the First Order. It's not answered. But we do see a scene in the throne room with him and Rey when they have this epic lightsaber battle against the Scarlet Guard, which was really, really cool, where when they win, he basically does the offer that Darth Vader does to Luke, and that's a letdown because he's looking to say, forget the rebellion, forget the First Order, forget all of this, it doesn't matter, let's just remake the universe the way we want. And I'm like, but why? Why do you want to do this? At no point did it ever appear that Ren really had a problem with how the galaxy was governing itself, that he had a problem with the Republic, that he had a problem with it. None of it. You're still not sold on why is he doing what he's doing. So that's a big letdown. And the only thing I can think of is when J.J. Abrams introduces all these concepts in Force Awakens, he kind of goes the route of loss, which is you think it's important, but it's not. And these were questions that were never supposed to be relevant in the actual storytelling, but the way J.J. Abrams, directs it, it makes us think it is. So when it gets its climax in Last Jedi, it's very anticlimactic, and you're just kind of like, really? That's it? Minor plot points, which again were played up to be important. Captain Phasma, she's the only female stormtrooper captain. She has different armor, and literally she's got like a minute and a half of a fight sequence with Finn, and you're not sold on why she's so upset at Finn. Like, why is this personal for you? Why do you give a crap what's going on with Finn? And there's nothing that sells you to the commitment of her being so personally upset about Finn's betrayal that she wants this one-on-one fight with him, and it doesn't last very long, so that's a letdown. Introduction of characters who seem to be important, but we don't see a lot of importance for them. I was absolutely moved to see an actual Asian lead actress, and it was a woman, in one of the major roles for the ensemble cast, but I was let down with the fact that we're introduced to her as her being part of an engineering team, and the one purpose of her being there in the infiltration of the Star Destroyer is absolutely useless because she never gets to do anything. That was a letdown. So I'm hoping in the next film she'll actually have an opportunity to do something useful instead of just kind of be verbally inspiring. There's this very kind of forced sequence in this side mission that Finn and Rose, which is the Asian actress who plays her, they take this side quest, for lack of a better term, to a gambling planet, just so we can meet our new smuggler character, and also so that they can make a plot point of, classism, doesn't care who's fighting on what side as long as they get paid, and the ship they escape on, it's whoever it belongs to is selling weapons to both the First Order and the Resistance. So, I get what they were trying to do, but it just seemed really forced, and that whole sequence kind of went on longer than you kind of felt it needed to, but it's not the end of the world. Another major point that people had a problem with was Leia saving herself with the Force. I mean, for real, why is this a shocker? And I'm going to tell you why it shouldn't be a shocker, and if you were shocked by it, shame on you for not actually being a real fan. And here's why. You didn't need to read a comic book, you didn't need to read a novel, you didn't need to play any of the games. All you had to do was go back to the original trilogy, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It is said twice that she can use the Force. Yoda and Obi-Wan say it at the end of Empire, and it's said by Luke directly halfway through Return of the Jedi. She has Force ability. Why wouldn't she? She's a Skywalker. The movies don't do a good job of ever depicting whether or not she actually learns to use her powers, but it's not a question that she has Force abilities. You just don't see it. Force Awakens, one of the biggest perks of the film is it is the most Force representative film ever in the Star Wars franchise. And when I say Force representation, I'm not talking about Force lightning, I'm not talking about moving rocks and, feigning away somebody's thought process. No, the Force, based off of all of Expanded Universe and every video game and comic and novel and so on and so forth, shows this massive amount of ability that Force users have. And this film does a great job of showing you the varying levels and skills and abilities you can have within the Force. And one of those is Leia's depiction of literally putting a protective field around herself before the bridge is blown up, and this is how she saves herself. And then she Force pulls herself back onto the bridge, and she is fully rescued. She doesn't have a mark on her. Not a mark, not a singe, not a bruise, not a scratch, nothing. That's the Force. And at the same time, you kind of have to step back and say, why are you so shocked? Why wouldn't the first person that Luke really teaches how to use any Force ability, why wouldn't it be his sister? At the end of Return of the Jedi, why wouldn't Luke teach Leia some Force ability? Why wouldn't she be able to? So I don't understand why people were so shocked at this. And I don't understand why people are so upset. They're like, since when could she use the Force? Since Empire and since Return of the Jedi. Hope that answers some people's questions. Whether you ask them or not, I don't really care. This is really just my opinion piece, and we're almost at 15 minutes close to. So yeah, I liked it. I didn't like it. I didn't like it enough, but at the same time I didn't hate it. I like the depiction of Force powers being used so much. To me, that was the saving grace of the film. So here's hoping that they do better in the next installment. I know in May it's supposed to be the prequel Han Solo film. I'll go see it, but that's filler, and I'm just kind of like, well, what's your story going to be? But I'm excited for it because it's Star Wars. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah, anybody who's a diehard fan, you can see all the cherry picking from Expanded Universe and all the old content that used to be canon, and then Disney said no, not anymore. But yeah, y'all are cherry picking, and we can tell. So I don't really have a problem too much with it, but it does make it hard to predict where the story would go. So it's always fun, and everybody's going to keep coming with new theories, and that's all right. So yeah, give it a chance. If you're not sure, you absolutely need to watch Force Awakens before you see this, or you'll be completely lost. Go back and watch the films just to bring yourself up to speed. You don't need to have read a comic book or a novel or any of that to really enjoy the Star Wars franchise, but for the little Easter eggs here and there that diehard fans know and love, yeah, it's fun to spot them and then talk about it. But overall, I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it. So enjoy. May the Force be with you and all that good stuff. Peace.